My name is Stephen Ajayi, and I'm the founder of PocketMentor. At PocketMentor, we're building a technical question and answer platform that allows developers and teams of developers to ask questions anonymously and to get unblocked on tasks. So why do we allow developers to ask questions anonymously on our platform? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Developers don't want to feel publicly shamed or ridiculed simply because they have a question. But currently, most of the most popular question and answer platforms skew very heavily towards the most intellectually elitist of the developer community. This results in many developers feeling alienated, specifically when it comes to women, people of color, and other marginalized groups within the industry. This same dynamic occurs on engineering teams. To further understand this issue, let's go back to math class. If I was to ask you, are you good at math? Most likely the way you're going to process this question is by looking at your own math education and how you compare to your peers. If you always seem to know what was going on, and you were at the top of your class, then most likely the answer is going to be, yes, I'm good at math. However, if the opposite is true for you, then most likely you feel as if math is a space where you do not belong, and therefore you avoid it at all costs. This same dynamic plays out in engineering teams. Developers tend to view themselves as good or bad depending on their peers. And in an environment where you constantly need to learn and grow and evolve as technology is constantly shifting, you constantly have questions. But if you have a question that you don't think your peers or anyone in your direct circle might have as well, it leaves you with two really bad options. One, you could ask the question, being very publicly vulnerable, and hope not to be publicly ridiculed. Or two, you keep the question to yourself and work in silence to get unstuck alone. Both of these situations make the developer feel as if they do not belong. In some cases, that means developers end up leaving the team and going to go work somewhere else. And in the most extreme cases, developers end up leaving the industry altogether. This is particularly harmful for companies who are trying to build inclusive and diverse workplaces. How can we build diverse and inclusive workplaces if we can't even allow developers to simply ask the questions they need to in order to get unblocked on their work? So, how is PocketMentor different? This is a common type of question we get on our platform. How would you approach connecting to the Mixpanel API? This developer chose to ask this question anonymously. If this developer had asked this question on Stack Overflow or Reddit, most likely what would have occurred is that they would either, one, have been publicly bashed for asking this question at all, or two, they would simply have had this question deleted because it did not meet the guidelines and it's not technically specific. But there's nothing wrong with this question. Simply, this developer wants to understand what are the things that I should look out for, the concessions that I might need to make while trying to work on this task. And so this is a perfectly fine question. And this is why anonymity is the least important thing that we're building at PocketMentor. Yes, as a developer, you can choose to ask a question publicly or anonymously. But more importantly, we're building a community of developers and companies that truly want to create a safe space for developers to ask questions and get unblocked on whatever they're working on. So why did I choose to work on this startup? Well, I myself am a developer from an underrepresented group. In fact, I started out my education at Portland State University thinking I wanted to be a business major, and then decided to transition over to pre-med. And during that course of that transition, I kind of came to the realization that I actually truly loved engineering, as I was starting to write a lot of Python scripts in my free time. I decided to leave Portland State rather than spend another 4 years working on a computer science degree and go to a local code school. Once I got into the industry, what I quickly realized that questions were not always valued equally on teams. I came to also realize that this experience was not just unique to me, but many other developers were having this exact same problem. In the most extreme example, I was actually in San Francisco at a tech meetup, and I saw a developer who was talking to strangers at this meetup, trying to get unblocked on something they were working on at a very well-known tech company. And If you think about that, that means that this developer drove an hour and a half in San Francisco traffic to ask strangers for help because they didn't feel comfortable asking their team. And they also didn't feel comfortable posting this question on any of the forums and platforms available in the current ecosystem. And that's the problem that we're really wanting to solve. If we're going to make tech more inclusive, if we're going to make tech more productive, if we're going to do all the things that tech needs to do in order to make not only the few belong, but the many belong, then people have to feel safe and comfortable to ask the questions that result in them feeling as if they belong and that they're productive in their work environments. So currently, we've launched and are working with enterprise companies to create a safe space for their engineering teams internally. And then also, we recently launched a community release that allows the most underserved groups in technology to actually have a space to ask questions and feel as if they're going to be safe. So currently launching to tens of thousands of developers through developer groups all over the country. And many of those groups will be launched to over the next few weeks. So what's coming is a public release. And so that allows anyone who aligns with this mission and wants to mentor and be mentored by developers in a safe space where they know their questions will be taken seriously and where they know that the community has their back and won't berate them or be mean to them, is allowed to sign up and join this public offering. So if you want to join the public offering and see the public release and help join in the community, you can go to www.pocketmentor.io, which is where the sign up button is for the waitlist. And also, if you want to get your company involved or reach out for any other reason, my email is steven@pocketmentor.io. Thank you so much for your time.